It's the Premium Pete Show.
Internets, welcome back to another episode of the Premium Pete Show. Sitting down here with a very good fellow, okay? There's so many things to call you. I'm going to call you a young trailblazer, okay? I'm going to keep it young. I'm going to say young. A young entrepreneur. Also, you were 30. You were voted, in Forbes, right? Weren't you?
30 under 30.
You're 30 under, whatever that is. We'll get we'll get to that means. Owner of Katz Deli. The one and only Jake Dell is in the building. Jake, listen, finally, I'm so glad. I want to give a big shout out to my friend Albie, DJ Albie from Stance. He was like, yo, you would do a great episode with Jake, me being a foodie lover, and we finally made it happen. Glad to have you here, bro.
Glad to be here.
Listen, right off the bat, for people listening who may not know what Katz Deli is, okay?
Then you need new listeners. That's it.
Yeah, it could be. No. Katz Deli's around 130 years?
Yeah.
Is that fucking...
It's insane. It's incredibly lucky, special, amazing, special place. I'm the 5th generation owner now. Mm-hmm. So my father did it for a long time, my uncle, my grandfather. Now I get to be a part of it. And most of what we do is about just preserving that same food tradition, that pastrami, that corned beef, the turkey, the brisket, the matzo ball soups, the latkes, all those things you know and love. That's the simples, the classics,
For sure. It's not easy, running a deli, okay? And we actually spoke about this, too, because it's like, for those who don't know Katz, they may say, okay, this is a deli, right? For those who do know Katz, they know how legendary it is. They know it's been in movies before. They know every type of celebrity has been. It's been in When Harry Met Sally, yep. Right? Was there another movie he was in? Or?
Donnie Brasco.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right. That's when he was handing him the tapes.
Yep.
Fuck, I forgot about that shit. That rat bastard. I'm only playing.
No, that was a shitty move on his part. I agree.
Yeah, Joe Pistone. But also tons, and we'll get to how many people, for people who want to know how many people. I mean, we were just talking, Martha Stewart was speaking about being young in there. But, when you think about Katz Deli, right, in a deli, and let's go here first. 130 years old. If Katz opened today, do you think that it would be an easy job? Not saying it's been easy for that business to be run 130 years.
No, I hear you. No, short answer, absolutely not. It'd be very difficult. I think any new business anywhere is hard. I think it's especially hard in New York, and I think restaurant business in New York is even harder. I think it's a tight, competitive space, and some amazing people doing amazing things. I mean, there's some incredible restaurants out there, and I just don't know that deli would be the one that would necessarily shine first and brightest. But also the economics of it is incredibly difficult.
Sure.
You look at, your fancy French, Italian restaurants. The price of mushrooms goes up. What do? You take mushrooms off the menu. That's it.
Sure.
But what happens when meat goes up and the prices go up in a deli? What are you going to do? You're going to take off pastrami from the menu? You're going to take off corned beef from the menu? You can't. It's tough. That and rents and labor costs, and the city, doesn't always help. It's smaller businesses. And so I do think it'd be very, very challenging for Katz's Deli to open up today.
How old are you again?
31.
You came into this business, the way you talked about all this shit, you were going to be a doctor, right? But honestly, and I have to say this the way I say, what the fuck did you know about deli? What did you know about all this shit you're talking about? No, think about it.
I grew up with it. So
okay, you worked in there on after school or something?
Yeah, things as a kid, and I was going to the restaurant as early as 3 years old, 4 years old, as running around like a little annoying kid, But
yeah.
And then growing up, my father would. Now looking back, I realized he was testing me. I didn't necessarily know it at the time, but he'd come home from dinner and he'd be like, "Oh, this customer did this. He was a pain, or he was this. What would you do?" And then I would, my 10-year-old version would come up with some probably stupid answer. Yeah. And we'd talk through it. And so I think he was sort of inadvertently testing me and imparting some of that knowledge on me. And so hopefully I absorbed some of that. And hopefully it allows me to make better decisions.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you get the experience of anything. I think you could become a professional. you spoke one time about, when me and you met beforehand. I remember you saying, like, in this day and age, it's like you go out to eat, say you go out with your girl, or like, hey, what do you do? I'm a chiropractor, or I'm a doctor, or, and you say, like, even though Katz is legendary, and again, for people who listen and know, and who those who don't know, we'll find out and we'll learn and we'll listen, do your Googles, obviously even after this episode, look further, check the website out, katzdeli.com, etc. But it's not something that anybody could just do. It's not something that people could learn quickly. But even like we spoke about, you go out and you say, like, hey, I'm owner of a deli. They look at you like, eh. No, you know what I mean?
It's true. No, it's true. Which I think is, I like that. I enjoy that. Anytime I do any of these, shows or whatever, it's all for the restaurant. I don't need the personal attention.
Sure. No, I know what you mean. But I do. But that's one of the things too that I really admire about you, because, we were speaking about this off air. You're 30. What did you say? 31.
Mm-hmm.
You're 31 years old. And, it's like even like doing some research on you, and seeing people say, oh, he was handed this deli, or he was handed. And I always said, look, you could know someone that could get you in a door somewhere, but it's what you do after you get in that door.
I mean, of course, no matter what you do, how you do it, where you grow up doesn't mean that's where you end up. People mess up all the time. And I mean, that's been my number one goal, I think, is just don't fuck it up.
Sure. Now, making the decision to not be a doctor, to be the owner of Katz Deli, was that a hard decision?
You may not believe me, but yes, at first it really was. I grew up wanting to be a doctor. I had some personal medical issues when I was younger, and it was that experience that really helped form a lot of who I was, and it made me really driven to be a doctor. From middle school through the end of college, I worked really, really hard. I did all the right classes and the athlete and the clubs and the organizations and all that crap to make my applications look good. And I really thought that's what I was going to do. And even when I decided to take a year after school to study for the MCATs and apply for med schools, I was still convinced that's what I was going to do. I was just going to help out my father and uncle. And so this was a dream that was 10, 15 years in the making. And when schools were getting back to me with, interviews and this and, and it was my dream.
Sure, it was getting real.
This was it. I was so excited. I was so pumped, but there was, something eating at me really deep down. And it was, all of these things. It was my grandfather, in the hospital, and remembering the words he had said to me, and
do you mind sharing what he said to you?
Yeah. Don't. What the fuck are you thinking? Be coming to the family business. My grandfather was not one to mince words.
Okay, I love that.
Very old world, New York. He was like never really. He was supportive, but he was like, "What are you doing?" My mother was supportive. My father was supportive. And I think when I started to talk to them about these decisions, my father sitting there with this big grin on his face, this huge, like, ear-to-ear smile, and I think he was just so excited that I was going to be coming into the family business. And but for me, it was important that it was a decision I actually wanted to make, that 15 years down the road, I wasn't going to look back and regret something a decision I had made. And I wasn't going to do it because customers had asked me to, even though I did. And I wasn't going to do it because my family asked me to, which I did. But I was going to do it because I wanted to, which I also was true. So I ultimately made a very conscious decision to be a part of the business and to go all in and to do everything I could.
Do you remember, did they ask you, so did they, was there a day where they said, hey, like, we're going to leave, or they coach you through it? Did they stay there for a while? Or do you remember, like,
I think, so the first year, like I said, it was very sort of, I didn't think I was going to be there. The next couple of years were me just watching and learning and not saying anything, and just trying to take it all in and understanding where I could add value, where things could be changed.
Sure.
And then the transition started. And I think more and more and gradually my father would relinquish more and start telling staff, I don't know, you have to ask Jake. Even though he knew. I mean,
Of course.
like, of course he fucking knew. But that allowed me to grow into someone in charge. And I hate using the word leader for a lot of reasons. I don't.
Top dog?
I love Top Dog because I was Top Dog Junior for many, many years. And then one day, the junior was no longer on my business card, as per my father. So it was a really big day. But I can remember very clearly the moment I realized, oh, I'm really in charge here. I call my father up and I say, this 5-minute rant about everything that's going wrong. I don't remember what it was. It was either a literal fire or a figurative fire. It could have been anything. Sure. I really have no idea. But I'm going off, and I'm like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this, and then that. And he's listening, and he goes, yeah, that sounds terrible. So today I went to the farmer's market. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're just not going to give me any advice here, are you? You're just going to tell me about your day. Okay, cool. Yep, I guess I'm in this alone. Let's do this. And of course I wasn't alone. Of course, whenever I need advice, he's always there. Same with my uncle.
Sure, he was teaching you well. He's kind of like letting you go out there. Now, how many years is it since that day?
5 or 6, I think. Yeah, something like that.
One thing, another thing that I admire about you is you're young, but you're focused, determined, and truthfully, I told you this before, you help evolve the business. In this day and age, how do you evolve? How do you stay relevant? Now, don't get me wrong, pastrami's not changing, the taste is not changing, but you added many things since you came in. Like talk about catering.
Right.
Like talk about being able to get cats if you live in Texas.
Right.
Talk about some of the things that you change or evolve. Since you stepped in.
I think the single most important thing, and we touched on this earlier. It's that nostalgia factor. I mean, I think people love the tradition and the nostalgia. They love walking in, and the sights, the sounds, the smells are exactly what they remember when they were a kid. I know I do, right? And I know everywhere we go, you hear a story that's special to them. It's why is Katz special to them, which is so humbling and so amazing in so many ways. So you can't touch that. You can't change that. You don't want to. The store is perfect as is, and it's all of its imperfections and should never be changed. But that doesn't mean it's easy to get to the Lower East Side always, and it doesn't mean it's easy to park down there. It doesn't mean it's easy to, maybe you want to go down there all the time, but you can't. And maybe you live in Idaho, and it's really difficult for you to get to New York, and maybe you heard about it here, or maybe you moved there because your work made you move there, or whatever the circumstances. What I've been trying to do is say we're going to make that easier to. We're going to bring the experience closer to you. We're going to make it easier for you to enjoy the True Katz's experience at home, or in your office, or with Brooklyn. It's a grab-and-go outpost location with catering. We do on-site carving events we've done it for Hot 97 to a hedge fund and everything in between. And shipping, we've shipped to all 50 states. And we're planning on doing for December this year almost 11,000 orders.
God damn,
it's unbelievable, and that's growing from send a salami to your boy in the army, which for your non-New York listeners, that rhymes.
Yeah.
And salami and army do rhyme. So we grew from just sending a couple of salamis to soldiers stationed overseas into this amazing operation where we can do free 2-day shipping. And so that's the future. That's how you stay relevant, and that's how you grow without sacrificing who you are, and without impacting the integrity of what makes us so special.
Let's get to some facts. I remember hearing you say that you guys sell about 15,000 pounds of pastrami a week.
That's
Is that
right.
true or it's higher now?
It's closer to 20. these days.
20,000
Yeah.
pounds of pastrami a week.
Yep.
That's crazy. And
That's just pastrami. I mean,
Okay.
we also have about 10 to 12,000 pounds of corned beef, a couple thousand pounds of turkey, a couple thousand pounds of brisket, and hot dogs are one of our most popular. Weight-wise, listen, it's hot dogs nothing, but we do 4,000 hot dogs in a week, easy. So, and not saying, we got voted best hot dog in New York like 6 years in a row, but I'm just saying.
Hey, listen, somebody's coming there and telling you that. What do you, as from being an Italian and for our food to be such, also nostalgic to people. Italian food is,
I love Italian food.
Yeah, thank you. But what makes, Jewish food, when you think about, you think about matzo ball soup, like what makes... keep in mind, right? The taste hasn't changed. You know what I mean? Like, it's like people still go to Katz and they find themselves, eating things, and it's like, it hasn't changed. You know what I mean? How the hell how do you keep it that way? Like, how does it, meaning, how do they still feel that they still getting the sandwich they know, for so many years?
Well, I think that's a trickier question than I think it seems at first. But I think, there are only a few elements to what makes taste, and, science aside.
Sure.
I think it's that tradition and that nostalgia carries a ton of weight, right? You don't just eat with one sense. You don't just eat with your mouth. You eat with your eyes, and
Sure.
you eat with your nose, and hell, even in the restaurant, you eat with your ears. I mean, you hear that clanging of the plates, and it's the same. It doesn't change because, new guys learn from older guys, from guys who have been there. I have staff who have been there 41, 43
God
years.
damn.
Guys
That's
who are
like
second,
family.
third generation. A guy on the floor could be learning from his uncle who's the manager, or, so it's a very special place in that regard.
How many employees is Katz?
About 150 now.
Okay, nice. Is it true there's a uniqueness to New York water? That's partly what makes the pastrami at Katz so tasty.
It's why pizza is better. It's why bagels are better, and it's
Talk
why
about it.
deli's better.
Talk about it.
Hands down. So it's a lot of it's iron, but it's other minerals that are in the water. It makes it harder, makes the dough harder. But when you're curing meats, that water gets absorbed into the meat. It gets absorbed into the flavor. Corned beef, for those who don't know, it's not corn. It's corned with an ed at the end. In Yiddish, traditionally, that means pickled. So all you're doing is you're pickling the beef. Pickling process is just salt and water. I mean, so of course the water makes a difference. I mean, if I were to put, water that was drained out of some eaten food, of course it would taste like that food. You know what I mean? If mango juice, you know, and cured in mango juice, it would be some weird version of corned beef.
I mean, no disrespect, but that's why I tell people New York pizza is the best. I mean, you can't. Tell me that Idaho has the best pizza. You know what I mean? I mean, no disrespect. You know what I mean? But think about how that sounds. You know what I mean? Listen, it's still. It's funny. I have.
Your deep dish callers are gonna freak out now.
Yeah. I always go in on deep dish. I call it a pizza soup. But
so much cheese in it. So much.
Yeah, but you know what I did find out? Chicago does have regular pizza too. Pizza soup, supposedly the Chicagoans. I don't even want to stick up for them, but supposedly
it's okay. You're in a safe space.
Yeah, supposedly is something that is dessert once in a while. Like meaning like they don't do the deep dish all the time. Like they do have a thin crust. So supposedly, shouts to Chicago. Now let's continue to go over more facts before we take a break. What's the most amount of customers have you ever had in a day? Do you know that?
About 4,000.
God damn.
Yeah.
Now, what about like people visiting?
What do you mean?
Like, what's the furthest you ever heard? People coming from Tokyo?
I mean, every single country. I have a regular who comes from Singapore. Once a year, and they come for business, and they always come in. But Japan, China, I mean, you name it. Anywhere in the world, we've been lucky enough to have customers come to, which is funny because if you were to come to us 30 years ago, 40 years ago, would have been just a bunch of old Jewish guys like smoking cigarettes, eating corned beef, and sipping on celery tonic, bitching about how their backs hurt. So, it's amazing to see how universal the place is and how the food is universal, and you get people from totally different parts of the world sitting side by side next to Wall Street guys, next to, McDonald's workers or whoever, or, everyone can come and eat, and it's a beautiful thing. Everyone can eat pastrami, right?
Absolutely. Pastrami, I like corned beef. I usually only do it on St. Patty's Day, celebrate it, but pastrami is something really special. And that Katz Deli, for those who never had a pastrami sandwich, it's out of this world. But now that we're speaking, it's great to be on that topic. 130 years old Katz Deli is, which is fucking insane, okay? When you think about it, when it just opened up, how much was a pastrami sandwich?
I honestly don't
Who
know.
the
It's
fuck knows?
1888.
Probably 5 cents.
I mean, that's, yeah.
Probably fucking 2 cents.
To be honest, they may not have even done sandwiches in the form that we know today.
That's true.
It was probably, deli at its core is more of a tradition about, it was meant for immigrants who didn't have a lot of money, and you're going to buy a piece of meat and you're going to make it last. You're going to feed 20 families all living in the same tenement, and you're going to buy your fish from one place, you're going to buy your milk from somewhere else, you're going to buy this, you're going to buy that, you're going to buy a big slab of meat. So my guess is in 1888, there weren't a lot of sandwiches being sold.
Well, today in 2018, a pastrami sandwich at Katz is how much?
$21.45.
Okay. Most people are going to be like, why is it $21.45?
Well, you get 3/4 of a pound of meat, first of all. It's a lot of sandwich. So for most people, that is 2 meals worth. Or, you do that with some sides, and then it's that. But for some people, they want the full sandwich too.
People who know are there to get the experience and enjoy it. But do you ever have anybody say, "Yo, why the fuck is this thing $21.40?" You ever have people complain at the price?
Of course, every day.
Really? What do they say?
I get okay. When you see 4,000 people in a day, of course you get complaints. You think 4,000 people go out of there going like,
"Thank you,
that was the best day of my
good.
life."
It is good. Look, I'm not just saying this because you're here. It is good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It is. You know what I mean? So and sometimes I get it. Maybe Katz is not something you go to 5 times a week if you can't afford it. But you know what? It's a place to visit. It's a place to make sure for people who've never been there, it's an experience. But more importantly, also, if you fuck with pastrami. I'm just saying for me, you may like turkey, you may like corned beef. Me, I like. Why would I go somewhere else? Like it's like when you want a good steak, I say, you know what? I'm going to save till I go to this place. I just don't go to no flimsy place and get a little steak.
Listen, I wish all my customers thought.
I know, right? I know,
like
I know. Well, I also eat all day, so
I tend to agree. But listen, that part of being in the restaurant business is customer service. That's what it's all about. If customers aren't happy, then what the hell am I doing in this business? But another part of customer service is dealing with people who are unhappy. That's the major thing.
Sure.
It's not fun. I don't enjoy
Why
it.
they call
it's not like
them
I'm like wake up every morning. I'm like, can't wait to deal with that asshole customer.
But they don't call you out. They call the manager. You ever had to get involved?
Well, think about it. If it's gone past the person they had a problem with, and then usually someone next to them tries to resolve it because they can jump in, but that can't be fixed. Then they bring over a manager, and the manager can't fix it, and then it comes to me. How pissed off do you think that person is by the time I see them? So
they're like, who the fuck is this?
They're just like so angry, and it's fine. Like I get it. There are things that can make you really upset. Like I'm not no judgment on that, but my job is then to calm you down and try and make sure you leave in some form satisfied, happy, relieved, whatever it is, not leaving super pissed off.
Sure.
And most of the time that happens, but every once in a while, it can't always happen, and that's okay. And sometimes, sometimes it's a shipping order or a delivery that gets messed up, and it's not just in person.
Sure.
Things.
Could be logistically.
You try your best. What are you going to do at a certain point?
Yeah. How important is it to face fear head on?
Whoa. Okay.
I know.
Curveball.
I'm sorry.
Curveball. What fear in particular are we talking about? Just
Any
fear.
fear, man. Look, I'll be honest with you. Like I said, for people listening and learning this story, again, I do want to say it's not easy to run a business like this. I'm sure there's lots of fear you deal with, daily.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes people run from it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes people run from it, I know that in order for you to succeed and evolve, you have to face some of this fear head on.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, listen, if I'm one of my biggest fears, tell you straight up, it's failure, right? I don't want to be the guy that screws this up. I mean, this is an amazing tradition. It's an amazing place. That fear is what also motivates me. It's what fuels me. It's what makes sure that I do what I do, that I prepare for a rainy day, that we redid our whole smokehouse situation and a lot of back of house operations that are the non-glamorous side of business, all because I'm afraid of something going wrong. So, and that's what's going to allow us to grow. It's what's going to protect us. So yeah, I guess you got to face it some way, somehow embrace that fear, I guess, somehow.
Now, you grew up both with mom and dad?
Yeah.
And where'd you grow up?
Here in the city.
In the city. And dad worked in, obviously, businesses besides...
He worked. Business was not in the best shape when I was growing up, which for those who know Katz is now may not necessarily believe. But there was definitely some dark times in the store's history. Some times where we were almost out of business, or sometimes, I remember my father working 7 days a week, sometimes, 14 to 16 hours a day, Saturdays, Sundays when I would be off from school. I remember him not being home because he was at the restaurant.
You know what's fucked up, honestly, and I remember that with my father too. These guys, my father's not a bad guy, and it doesn't seem like your father is either. It's like they have to work. My father worked 3 jobs when I was a teenager, and they work 3 jobs to provide for the family, and in the interim, they're not there for their family.
Yeah. What's the other option, though?
I know. But what I'm saying is it's kind of, you know what I mean? Not saying they're not there for it, but I don't have many memories of doing a bunch of things. I did a lot of things with mom. I was always a mama's boy anyway, but
it's the Italian side of you.
Yeah. What's funny too?
To be fair, Jewish side too.
That's why girls have hard times with that, because girls are like, I'm not trying to compete with your mother, because like Italian men particularly. I mean, I don't know about Jewish men, but it's like, I love my mother to death. She is not the woman you need in your life, and what I mean by that is like, I remember. I'm
so curious where you're going with this.
I'll never forget this. I got married and I got divorced. I'll never forget this shit. And I remember being felt like a failure, that's why I tell people that you should always prepare for a rainy day, even if you're getting married. I don't mean that sneakily, because, I remember, you get a house, you get married, you get somebody, and the next thing you know, you're getting divorced. It's like, where do you go? Like, your bank accounts are together. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying be a sneak and get something on the side, but you should have something for yourself just in case anything ever happens. So you don't have to go to your mother's house that first night. And I'll never forget, I went back to mom's after being out since 17, maybe 10 years. And, she was like, I'll make you some chicken soup. And I was like, all right. And the next day I woke up and she's like, I did your laundry already and I got breakfast. What do you want to eat for breakfast? I'm like, whoa, hold on. So the point I'm trying to make is, she's such a sweet lady. I didn't ever want to fucking leave. I was like, I'm back home. I felt miserable, but I was like, she had dinner ready, every fucking, like clockwork. You know what I mean? She did my laundry. I was like,
you were the prince,
I know, but sometimes what I realize is some Italian mothers, and I'm sure Jewish mothers are like this, they're too, you get, what do you call that? Too enabling, if that makes any sense? Like, too enabling.
Mm. Yeah, it can happen. I think my mother was a combo of that, or is a combo of that, and the super, super tough Brooklyn.
Yes.
Because she's Marine Park. Like,
oh, yeah.
She does not mess around, and she's a tough cookie.
Yeah. Before we go to break, Katz was It's on obviously Ludlow, the corner of Ludlow and
Houston.
Houston.
Not Houston.
Okay, I know people call that Houston Street.
Listen,
How long has that been at that location?
So we've always been on that corner for 130 years.
God damn.
We technically started on the other side of the street. And then when they built the F train, they had to dig it out. So we moved to the other side of the street.
Did they buy that from you, or you just rented it at that time?
I mean, we're talking about 1910, I think.
Yeah, who knows? Could have just been a written note.
I mean, listen, at that time, it's very different. Restaurants in general at that time are different. It's not like you want to buy this restaurant. It's more like you want these bills.
Yeah.
You can,
you want my
can
problems?
have this headache.
Yeah,
Go for it. It's all yours.
Sure.
It's not like land value is something that it is today. Unless you were really forward thinking and really smart, and now your families are ridiculously wealthy. But so then we were on that side of the street, and then we're actually somewhat indented. The corner itself was an empty lot, and that's where we kept barrels of pickles, and we would brine things right on the street. And this happened all the way till about 1946. And at that point, we started construction and expanded all the way down to the corner. And it's what you see today. It's looked like that since 1949.
Now, so you have the corner spot. You've been there that long. Many renovations, or
not since 1949.
So that's the last time that building's been
a
renovated?
major renovation. I mean, so there was construction on the rest of the block that just finished about a month ago. So they demoed the rest of the block. No, I mean, we've done little tweaks here and there. You change the AC system, you change windows.
Well, that's very nice of
you. You put a new metal bar in. Maybe you change a table here or there.
What about the chairs? The chairs are still the same from 19...
Fuck that. That's,
okay.
Yeah, you could sit on the same... No, of course. You change seats, you covers, things like that. But major renovation in design, no changes. Actually, we had to change the pickle fridge. This is a great story. So the main pickling room is on...
So you brine your own pickles?
Everything. Pickles, corned beef, pastrami, everything. We'll go through about 30 barrels of pickles a week.
That's insane.
It's a lot. So we have our main pickling room is on the ground floor, in the back of the restaurant, sort of when you turn the corner where the water fountain is. So behind that is a 600 square foot refrigerator, which it's a studio apartment.
Sure.
Yeah. So we have these big tanks, and we do this whole process, and there's about 70,000 pounds of meat at any given time at different stages of the pickling process. So because there's that much pickling happening there, there's a lot of salt, and there's a lot of salt on the floors. So one day we're going downstairs, and there's an employee bathroom below, and I'm using the bathroom, and all of a sudden it just starts raining on me, and I'm like, oh no, this can't be a good sign. And I come upstairs, and they're like, oh yeah, every time we clean this part of the floor, it rains down in the bathroom. And I go, okay, well, maybe we should talk about this.
Yeah.
Maybe this is something we should look into. So we start doing it some more, and of course, as we keep doing testing different spots of the floor, it starts raining in different sections in the basement, and we're like, oh shit, this is going to be a problem. So, and what had happened was over 40 years, salt had literally eaten all the way through, and we removed the fridge. Even the steel was rotted underneath, and we had to replace all the structural steel beams. It was something like a 4-month project where we had to rip out the old fridge and put all these things and figure out where the hell we were going to pickle in the meantime, and we had to rent space and do it here and do it there and get daily deliveries, and it was a total nightmare. And actually, one of the first, I think, major tests that I think I passed in my father's eyes. So, now we have a brand new fridge. I figure we got about 20, 30 years before we got to worry about salt eating all the way through again.
Now the meats, they stay smoked for a couple of days and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So corned beef is a brisket cut that's pickled. Pastrami is a navel cut that is pickled and then smoked.
Okay.
It takes about anywhere from 8 hours to 72 hours. It depends on the smoker and the sort of exact piece of meat.
Sure. Listen, you know what? Let's take a quick break. You're making fucking the internet's hungry. We're learning more. Listen, internet's Jake Dell, owner of Katz Deli, katzdeli.com. Check it out. More importantly, when we come back from the break, I want to hear a little bit more of like the entrepreneurial side, because this guy's not just only the owner of a deli. I remember you saying that you visit farms and shit like that. Internets, don't go nowhere, okay? But stay hungry. We'll be right back. Cheers. Internets, and we're back sitting here with my guy, Jake Dell, owner of Katz Deli, the legendary Katz Deli. Listen, you know what's something very fascinating? Katz Deli, obviously where they are in Ludlow and own that space for many years. I know that recently they just sold, part of the, I guess you had a couple of extra pieces of building, so to speak. Would you guys get rid of that just to somebody came and bought?
Yeah, someone had bought the rest of the block,
Okay.
and assembled some spaces over on Orchard
Like
too.
put a Marshalls.
Yeah, the Marshalls just opened. Equinox opened a bunch
dope.
of residential stuff. The CVS, I think, too. But the idea was that like we're not using it, and the air we're not planning on building up. I'm happy with my little 1-story building. I'm happy with what we've got, and I don't need to knock it down and put a new building. I don't need to throw 4 stories on top of it. So why not get a little cash out of it and use it to build the factory to like we were talking about with the rainy day, protect the store and do the things that allow us to be successful even when there's a downturn. Business is cyclical and there's always a downturn.
Sure. So you sell the building next door, that you have the extra space, and then you also, which to be honest with you, I feel very stupid because I didn't know much about air rights. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Air rights. So air rights, explain for the internets who may not even know either. Air rights are basically when you sell.
It's the Wild West of the real estate world. It's so essentially any building, when you buy a plot of land, you're basically buying like an upside down triangle from the center of the earth all the way up to the sky. What happens is the city caps how high you can build. You can't necessarily build 100 stories on any piece of property you own, no matter where you live. It may be 1 story, maybe 5 stories, maybe 10 stories. So we had a 1-story building and we're allotted 5 stories. That means there were 4 stories we just weren't using. So we could sell those 4 stories, and almost like building blocks, the building next door to us can just plop it right on top of their building, and now they can build an extra 4 stories. So it's a win-win essentially, right? Some critics are not thrilled about that because now it means that there's a way to build taller than normal buildings. But the flip side is, listen, that building was already going to be built, right? There was already going to be a Marshalls, like you said, and some Equinox and some residential. So if we're able to protect Katz's, to preserve it and protect it and make sure that it can last hopefully another 130 years, why not?
Yeah. You spoke about being young and being in the deli. Now you're 31 years old and you're the top dog. The first time you ever had to fire somebody.
I remember it very clearly.
Horrible.
It's the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
I do want to say this. I understand what you're saying. My father later on in life had a position, where he had to do that, and I remember he was not the person he had to do it, but not the person that.
Well, I think you're taking away someone's livelihood, right? Whether it's justified or not is a totally separate conversation. At the end of the day, you're now telling somebody that they can't go home with a paycheck, and that's a hard pill to swallow. So that's, they may not be able to put food on the table for their family. Now, again, they may totally fucking deserve it in every way, shape, or form, but your heart has to hurt a little bit in some way. If we're all humans here. It sticks with you and you remember it. But look, we all have, all the staff I think has jobs to do, and I remember actually a bunch of staff coming up to me and saying, like, no, you did the right thing and you had to, and it, it's weird. That's a weird thing, right?
Sure.
For
Them consoling you.
Yeah, like staff to console their boss to be like, no, you had to fire that person. That's a weird sort of dynamic, but yeah.
When you think about that, it's
Come
crazy.
a long way. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? when you think about it, I tell
I
you
was
one
a baby
thing.
then.
Yeah, sure.
What did I know?
I mean, you're still young. You're still young, man, and you've done a lot so far. People associate you with the deli, hit like that, but that's not who you are. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're part of the deli, but like, if you don't mind sharing some things, like who is Jake Dell? Like, what do you like? You work a lot, but what do you do when you don't work? Like, what makes you happy? Like, what do you do for fun? Like,
I play a little basketball. I used to be a swimmer, so I still swim a little bit.
A lot of people think that you
Michael
look
Phelps,
like Michael
yeah,
Phelps.
I
bro.
get
Is that why you try to be a
I
swimmer?
get that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Internet, you'll see when you look at the picture or the video.
People look at the pictures on the wall and they're like, "Oh shit, there's Michael Phelps," and then they look at another picture and they're like, "Oh, there's Michael Phelps again." And they look at the third and they're like, "Wait a minute, that can't be Michael Phelps. He's in too many pictures." For those of you who don't know, we have pictures on the wall.
Tons of pictures with tons of celebrities. Actually, let's go over. Let's just hit like some people with. I seen Danny DeVito in Katz. Hit me with some people.
I mean, last count was 850 pictures on the wall. So pick your poison. You like actors and actresses. You
What about
musicians.
Yankee players?
Now you're talking.
Yeah,
big Yankees fan.
Yeah,
Yankees and Knicks actually.
Oh, nice.
I got the season opener today.
Yeah.
So I had to wear the Ewing socks.
Forget about it.
We've had a bunch of Yankee players over the years.
Robert De Niro ever come into Katz Deli?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Of course.
Fuck.
He's a New Yorker.
Where the fuck was I?
I'll call you the next time.
Yeah, he's in here. Get in here now.
Hurry up.
Hurry
Get
up.
down here.
Did anybody come in that surprised you? Where you're like, holy shit! Like, I don't know how. Not saying you get starstruck, but where you're like, yo, we're really doing this thing here.
Yeah, I don't get that starstruck. I think because it's like at the end of the day, we're selling pastrami here, and we're selling sandwiches. Like, people got to eat. No matter who you are, you got to eat,
Sure.
right? But there's like weird ones that have gotten me over the years. Like, I got super pumped when Kramer came in.
Really? Wow.
I don't know. Like, it was like, oh shit, that's cool. Like that.
Now, do you come up to him and be like, hey, nice to meet you, and kind of give him a better experience?
So it was real bad. So my father and I went over and we started talking to him. Oh no! And by the way, no one cuts the line. I don't care who you are. You don't cut the line.
Yeah.
But we go over and we're talking to him, and hey, would you like to would you like to join our wall when you're done eating, and we'll take a picture? And, yeah, of course, great. And we start talking to him. My father goes, when your coworker was in here, he was a real jerk.
Really? You mean Jerry?
And he goes, Jerry, yeah, he was a total jerk. And I'm like, Dad, shut the hell up, will you? He goes, well, we've all had bad days. And I was like, oh boy, this is real awkward. Yeah, you just had a real bad day, didn't you, huh? That's what we're calling it, a bad day.
Back to, I don't want the pitchers to get away from finding out what, I know you mentioned swimming, you mentioned basketball. Are you a person that, obviously money has changed for you too. I'm sure you've been afforded things throughout your family, but now it's like you're making, your own bones, so to speak. And, are you somebody that, have you celebrated any of that type of stuff, did you buy a Porsche or a Ferrari?
No.
Okay. You just still take the train
Jeep.
or Uber?
I got a Jeep.
Okay.
Well, and the only reason I got one was because I go to Jersey for the warehouse.
Yeah.
Before that, I just had like a Zip car subscription.
That's how the rich stay rich. That's how the rich stay rich, internet. Don't you fucking forget it. And what about, actually I know they, again, and, I don't mean to be all in your business, but I know they publicized that you bought a nice a home.
Yeah,
that's why did real estate do that?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little
that's not cool, actually.
Yeah. And they were like, also, I got a mortgage. Like, you want to?
Yeah.
Like,
you want the mortgage?
Yeah.
You want to pay the fucking bill?
Yeah. But that doesn't go in the story. Yeah. No. I try not to. I don't know. live that crazy. I don't dress that crazy.
Sure.
You know, I like to eat, so I'll spend money on food.
Sure.
I think that's my kind of guilty pleasure.
Is there restaurants you suggest for people to visit besides Katz Deli?
Honestly, just New York. I mean, it's almost unfair. There's so many good restaurants, and ranging from the holy shit that's the most expensive, that's more expensive
Sure.
than most people's rent, down to a $1 taco that's gonna blow your mind. So,
Sure.
I just New York, man. I love to eat and I love to try new foods, and I think there's so many chefs doing so many incredible things in New York, and I think that's something I like to explore.
Yeah. You're young and, definitely successful. I guess people could equate that to being wealthy. How hard is it? I don't know if you're in a relationship, but how hard is that to not think that a girl who could just Google your name and see all these things and think that somebody's, out to get money?
So I'm pretty lucky. I think I've found someone who's not at this point. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that part's great. When I was single, that was definitely something I thought about. I don't know. That's why I have my mother and my sister to vet them,
Yeah. Invite them over
Yeah.
for some lox and gefilte fish.
Yeah, like what do you think? Like, can you pass this test? Because if you can pass this,
Sure.
like that test, I'm just a stupid boy. What do I know?
Yeah, sure.
It's
Sure. As we start to think about, how you embodied and kind of like, took time to be an entrepreneur, because you are an entrepreneur when you think about it, an entrepreneur running this deli, trailblazing it, creating new stuff, helping it get to the next 10, 15, 20 years.
130, I hope.
Okay. Well, we'll go 40.
I may not be alive at that
Well,
point,
hey,
but-
you could pass it down to somebody else.
Yeah.
One thing is, I remember a lot of business people saying, hey, when you, like, for instance, if something's wrong with the pipes or if something's wrong with the brick outside, your father, I'm sure, had Steve from Queens. Or do you still use the same people that were passed down to you?
100%.
Yeah.
And now it's Steve's kids.
Steve kids, yeah.
And so I have vendors who are second, third generation working with my family. Our Pepsi guy has interacted with me, my father, and my grandfather. So he's seen 3 generations of Dell, and delivering to us. So yeah, no, absolutely. I think I think that's part of what makes a good business span the test of time. It's consistency and it's giving a shit.
Yeah, basically.
And I think you find the other people in other businesses that also care about what they do. You don't just get the Yellow Pages, the first contractor every single time. No, you form relationships and you form business relationships in every facet of the business.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking about YouTube before, and I was telling you how some people will say good things and some people will say some bad things. No. I actually took a lot of people said, okay, so I was looking at a video and somebody was like, oh, business was handed to him. And then somebody, so those are the haters. But the people who are fucking with you, bro, I don't care if that business was given to him. He's running a successful business and it's very hard to meet that high expectations. I give him credit where credit is due. And somebody else wrote, I seen this guy like 100 times. I just never really talked to him or went up to him. Now the other
what
thing.
the hell? Come say hi.
Yeah. Internet. If you're in there and you see Michael Phelps, Jake Dell, he's not Michael Phelps. Go say hello.
I like to think I'm nice, and you could talk to me.
Yeah. It's there's so many people who have different opinions about what Katz is, how to run business, how to do this. At the end of the day, you came in, you made changes. You did catering, you did website, you implemented a lot of stuff. What do you want, your legacy to be, like Jake Dell's legacy to be?
I don't care what Jake Dell's legacy is.
Yeah.
I care that Katz is still there at the end of the day. And what I do is to make sure that that's the case. And I think, you can't put everything into one bag and hope it works out. So hopefully by sort of expanding this and I hate the word diversifying too, but that's what it is. And, even though it's all still the same, it's still pastrami at the end of the day, but hopefully we're protecting against that rainy day.
Yeah. What inspires you these days?
You.
Yeah, get out of here, bro. There has to be things that there has to be things that inspire you to keep you going.
I think it's my customers. Honestly, I think it's the security guard when we came in this morning. Just now, right before the show, that was like so amped to see a Katz's Deli shirt and talking about how he came in the week before and ordered split pea soup for his wife, and and everywhere. I mean, that's the beauty of it. And we were talking about this in the elevator. It's like it's heartwarming. It's truly special. There's so many stories. Every customer that comes in has some sort of story, and some sort of connection and to the history, and they want to tell me these stories, and it keeps me so excited about what I do. We're connected by these stories, right? There's one thing that all these stories have in common, that all of us have in common, and it's Katz's, and that's amazing. That's how many places can even say that?
True. No, it's amazing. It's a legacy. It's iconic. How important is generational wealth to you?
I mean, it's a tricky question. I think anyone wants to be able to provide. They want their kids to be in a good place. They want to leave the next generation in a better place than what where they were. I think that was true. My grandfather grew up with nothing. I mean, he grew up in Avenue C and had to fight his way through. And it's actually a fascinating story. We could do a whole podcast on my grandfather. And he was able to build a little something and had a bar and sold it and got into Katz's and created a little something for my father. My father was able to build it even more and then, turn it into something bigger. And hopefully I can do the same. I think you want to. I think that's hopefully universal, is that you want your kids to succeed and be in a position to succeed.
Do people still come into the deli and try to reenact when Harry met Sally?
Every single week.
Yeah. Did they pay you for that, or just said, "Hey, really? Wow"?
We're actually on the 30-year anniversary of the filming. The movie was released in '89, but the filming happened in October of '88.
So they didn't just say, "Hey, we want to use your space." They paid for that.
Yeah, I mean that's
no. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Wow. And at the time, Nora Ephron, who's the writer of the movie, excuse me, Rob Reiner, who was the director, and Billy Crystal, were all regulars in the restaurant, and they were sitting there and they were talking about this script that they had. They're like, "Okay, we're going to scene in Washington. We got a scene in Washington Square Park, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that." And they're like, "Wait a minute, we got to film something here. What are we going to do here? This is awesome. We love this place." And so they filmed the scene, and they sort of specially wrote it for the place, and they kind of tailored the scene to fit with Katz's and fit with who we are. And if you look at it, it's the exact same decoration. Nothing's changed.
Sure.
And if you look closely too, if you rewatch that scene, it never says Katz's in it. I mean, there's no waiters coming in that have Katz's shirts. There's they don't show the neon sign, nothing. But our regulars knew. And about 6, 7, 8 years later, other people started saying, "Hey, where was that scene?" And then so over time we kind of became associated with it, but not at first.
Donnie Brasco too, right? I don't remember seeing anything with Katz. Yeah,
that one's a little bit more frustrating. They wanted the authentic look, like it would have looked like, so they wanted to change the way the store looked. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, we want to put a booth in. So if you look, it's that scene where he makes the deal.
Yeah.
And it's a booth. They just changed it up so it doesn't look quite the same. If you know, you know, but
if you know, you know. Shouts to Pusha T. Yeah, no, definitely. For those listening who know of the deli, been there, we got to give it to him because it's not like you're a return guest and they already know already or could go back. What is the oral history of Katz Deli, meaning the family sense? Probably a question you've been asked so many times, but
Well,
For people
there's
to
a
know.
short version, a long version.
Let's do the short version.
Yeah, I agree. So the Iceland family came in, and like we said, by the way, transfership of restaurants was not like it was today. It was, you want the headache, it's yours.
Yeah.
So Iceland family, then Katz family became involved with them, so it became Iceland and Katz. Then Iceland's out, so now it's just Katz. And then we go down a generation, and then my grandfather gets involved. He's like a local bar owner who's just hanging out all the time and wants to be a part of the restaurant business. And then eventually the next generation of Katz family doesn't want in anymore or can't be involved anymore for whatever reason. And there's a couple of other families in there as well, Maxteins and Tarowskis. And they have descendants. And so at one point though, all of that, everyone wants out. And the only people that want to stay are my father and uncle. Because business also at that time is
Tough.
really bad. So it's just my father and uncle and now me.
You spoke about that you have a sister.
Yeah.
And I remember them, Pops, it could have been to both of you if you wanted, right? I mean, she could have got involved. She didn't want to be involved in that, right?
She'll say to me things like, I don't know how the fuck you deal with that. So yeah, I think she's very happy that I'm dealing with
Now,
it.
is she in the contract, I always say, for residuals? Like, is she, yeah?
Hey, listen.
Family.
Italians and Jews.
Forget about it. Yeah, we're the same. Forget about it. There's not much more to say. Listen, tell me about the subscription service.
So we launched this last Christmas, and we're going to be launching a sort of modified version hopefully in the next month or so. But basically, listen, you want pastrami, you can get it every month. We do it nationwide. We do it all 50 states. You get discounts as you commit to more. So you do a full 12 months. It's $125 a package. You do it just once, it's $150. So not bad savings. But you get some meat, you get some bread, you get some pickles. How can you go wrong?
Right to your doorstep. What is
Right
it, like
to your
2 day or next day? Or?
Free 2-day shipping.
Wow.
Listen, that beats the boar's head or the Thumans that you're gonna get, wherever else. And
you know what? I see people, and you know what? Shouts to my friend Josh Luber. He's the co-founder of StockX. I don't know if you ever heard of it. They're a seller of all things. They sell a lot of sneakers. They're doing jewelry now, streetwear. They're like a Flight Club online, but they have a different style to them. They really came in and took the world by storm. But regardless of that, he lives in Detroit now. That's where their headquarters are, and he was born in Philly. So when he goes home, he gets the Geno's or the Jim's or I forget what the steak.
I love Jim's.
Yeah,
Jim's is great.
And he freezes them.
Yeah.
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
So we get a lot of that. That's kind of we get a lot of ex-New Yorkers, displaced New Yorkers. We had a whole campaign going at one point, make a displaced New Yorker happy. So we get I'd say about 3 major groups. We got New Yorkers who now live out of New York and miss it because, of course, it's New York. And then you get people who are New Yorkers who want to show off to their friends who don't know any better.
Like, you gotta try this.
Yeah, like you better. Oh my! Or it'll be a bet. You know what I mean? Like, hey, listen, if I win this bet, you fly this food out to me, or vice versa. Or the third is just more, like people who have heard about it and can't get down to Lower East Side. Maybe they heard it, saw it on the Travel Channel or Food Network, or maybe they heard it on this podcast or something else.
Sure.
And they just want to, they're curious, and they want to try it out. So we definitely have a ton of that as well.
Yeah. A couple things before we wind this episode down. The Katz ticket is legendary for the video people who are watching. Let me see if I show that down. There we go, Benson. Here, put that in, Benson. For the people who are watching, the ticket, how does people order? Because it's funny when you walk in Katz Deli, it's like a fucking club. Security guard, they hand you a ticket. What is the system like?
Well, so let me first say that the confusion and the chaos is what makes the food taste even better. It's, of course, if you're scared and then you eat, you're like, oh, this is so much better than if you were just happy. So you walk in, you get a ticket. It's a very old system. It's one we've had since we started. And that ticket is your check. As you go from station to station, it's sort of cafeteria style. You order hot dogs in one station and sandwiches in another, fries in another, drinks and latkes and dessert, and then everything gets tallied up on there. At the end, you pay and you leave. So if you look actually on the back of the ticket, those numbers, that used to be the price in pennies. So you would put a little punch, and then punch up higher, and then punch up higher, and then punch up higher, and the highest number that you punched was the amount you'd pay. Now, obviously, 400 pennies doesn't quite cut it these days.
Yeah, not these days. Hey, listen, it's a legendary system. Katz is open 7 days a week.
And 24 hours on the weekends.
That is insane. 24 hours on Friday night and Saturday night?
After the club.
And Sunday.
It's a public service, you know what I mean? I'm preventing hangovers.
I ain't even forget about it. Listen, Jake, man, I'm proud of you, man. You're young, but you're like I always say, you're open-minded. You come into an old business, help it evolve, help it keep some fire, keep some spice into it, and take it into these, next decades. There's somebody who's sitting home right now that wants to start a restaurant, or somebody that wants to open up a bagel store, or a deli, or a smaller deli, or a restaurant, wants to get into the restaurant business. What's some advice you have for them?
Don't do it. No, I think you better know you really, really want to do it. I think it's a lot of work. It's both emotionally draining and physically draining. It's time, it's effort, it's money. And if you're prepared for all that, then do it and go all in on it. And don't stop, and make sure you have enough money in the bank to last at least a year, maybe two. And yeah, good luck. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard business. If it's this hard on something that's been established for 130 years, it only gets harder the less years you've been in business. Yeah, if you ever want to get a cup of coffee and cry, I'm all ears. He's
on Instagram too, at Jake Dell. Check out Katz Deli on Instagram, and then again, hit the website. Check him out. If you're a listener that enjoyed the journey of what you heard today, and you've never been there, and you're not even from here, just check out the website. You'll find out more info. Okay? Internet, listen, Jake, all the best to you.
Thank you.
Shouts to Katz Deli. Let the noise keep on going. Let the plates keep on clanking. Let the pastrami keep on cutting. And let people keep on living off of a legacy that was created by nothing but authentic, pure nostalgicness. Internet's the one and only Jake Dale, Katz Deli. Cheer. Internets, if you enjoyed that episode, I want you to email me at thepremiumpeteshow@gmail.com. Again, that's email is thepremiumpeteshow@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought. And listen, all my advertisers out there, all my big businesses, my small businesses, whoever, a friend, a store, you want to advertise on The Premium Pete Show? Email me at thepremiumpeteshow@gmail.com, and let's get working. Okay? Make sure you subscribe, rate, leave a comment on all streaming platforms of the podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll see you next episode. Cheer.